This video is to review factoring. So remember that factoring is the same as reverse FOIL. So if we have the equation x squared plus 7x plus 10, we want to figure out two numbers that multiply to the number by itself and add to the number next to the x. So in this case, we are trying to figure out what multiplies to 10 and adds to 7. Those numbers are 2 and 5. So x gets a parenthesis with each of them. So we have x plus 2 and x plus 5. So in number 1, we have x squared plus 12x plus 20. So we want to know what multiplies to 20 and adds to 12. Now, some of us are thinking, oh, 4 and 5 multiply to 20. And you are correct, but 5 plus 4 is only 9, so it's not the number we're trying to add to. So we have to come up with a different combination. So two numbers that multiply to 20 would be 10 and 2. Those also add to 12. So we have x plus 10 and x plus 2. In number 2, we have what multiplies to negative 32 and adds to positive 4. So if we're multiplying to a negative number, we need one of each sign. So two numbers that multiply to 32 are 8 and 4. We have to figure out, though, how do I get those to add to positive 4 if one of them is supposed to be negative? So if you're adding to a positive number, then your bigger number needs to be positive. So 8 is going to be positive, 4 is going to be negative, x plus 8, and x minus 4. In number 3, we have x squared minus 11x plus 30. So in this case, we want two numbers that multiply to 30 but add to negative 11. So if you're multiplying to a positive but adding to a negative, both of your factors have to be negative. So two numbers that multiply to 30 are 3 and 10. But if I make those negative, negative 10 plus negative 3 is negative 13. That's not what we're looking for. So two other factors are negative 6 and negative 5. So we would have x minus 6 and x minus 5. It does not matter which parenthesis comes first. In number 4, we want to multiply to negative 27 and add to negative 6. So what are two numbers that multiply to negative 27 and add to 6? So we would have negative 9 and positive 3. Negative 9 because we're adding to a negative number. We have a negative and a positive because we're multiplying to a negative. So we have x minus 9 times x plus 3. In number 5, if there's not a number there, remember that's a 1. So we are multiplying to negative 20, and we are adding to negative 1. So we want numbers that are close together. 4 and 5 are close together, and they multiply to 20. If we're adding to negative 1, our bigger number 5 has to be negative. So we would have x minus 5 and x plus 4. In number 6, we want to multiply to negative 11 and add to negative 4. Well, if we multiply to negative 11, the only numbers that multiply to negative 11 are 1 and 11. There's no way to make those add to negative 4, so this is already prime. It's not factorable. So we would write prime. Number 7, x squared plus 12x plus 36. So we want two numbers that multiply to 36 and add to 12. So we have 6 and 6. So we have x plus 6 times x plus 6. If it's the same quantity in the parenthesis, we can always write it as the parenthesis squared. In number 8, we want to multiply to positive 4 and add to negative 4. So two numbers that multiply to 4 are 2 and 2. But if I'm adding to a negative, they both have to be negative in this case. So we get negative 2 and negative 2. So x minus 2 times x minus 2, which would get us x minus 2 squared. In number 9, we don't have an x term. So if I rewrite this, this would become x squared plus 0x minus 100. So what multiplies to negative 100 and adds to 0? It has to be the same number of 10 and 10. One of them has to be negative. So we have x plus 10 and x minus 10. In number 10, we want to multiply to negative 14 and add to negative 2. Well, two numbers that multiply to 14 are 1 and 14, but I can't get those to multiply to negative 2. And 2 and 7. Those also don't multiply to negative 2, so again, this is prime. Number 11, we want to multiply to positive 40 and add to negative 13. So two numbers that multiply to 40 and add to negative 13, both have to be negative, would be negative 8 and negative 5. So we have x minus 8 and x minus 5. In number 12, we again don't have a middle term, so we want to know what multiplies to negative 16 and adds to 0, so they need to be the same number of 4 and negative 4, so x minus 4 and x plus 4.